I can't believe I'm going to use this term, playfully racist. But that's the only way I can describe that conversation is. Welcome back to Nerd Legion. Subscribe to this channel, please. If you are watching this, give us a like, give us a comment. Tell us what you think of our new segments on this show. We are returning this week to The Boys Season 4. Now, we hit up the first 3 episodes earlier, but now we're going to do the last 5. We also did a watch-along for Season 8 with myself and DoA. You can actually find the link to that below.
Season 8 finale, not the entire season. Just the last episode,
season 8.
Thankfully. Yeah.
Yes, just the episode 8 of season 4. So if you would like to watch along, I believe we paused it at 1 minute 44. There's an audio file that will be hosted below, so you can click on that. Otherwise, you can enjoy these clips from our watch along right now.
You hit play, right?
Stop, just
No.
stop.
You haven't hit play yet?
No,
I take responsibility for racism.
Finally.
All right, that was kind of funny.
that actually is funny.
Ish.
Nice Oakleys, bro. Hey, is that foreshadowing? His shirt says dead. So are we supposed to be happy that Huey's going to suffer more? Oh no, now Huey thinks he's going to be married, but it's a shapeshifter. Nothing is less comfortable than jeans with no underwear, let me tell you. It's scratchy.
Thanks. Noah doesn't like going commando in jeans. Confirmed.
No. The back of that zipper is cold. Oh, this guy's still in the show. That doesn't look anything like Aaron Rodgers.
He definitely looks like Aaron Rodgers.
Well, okay, I can see it a little bit. Hey, he was a great
Hey,
quarterback.
Butcher, how about a darkness retreat?
Burn every fucking soup on earth.
Starting with tomato, then wild rice.
But not French onion. That one's supposed to be burned.
See, he talks like a chimney sweep from Mary Poppins, but he is not nice and friendly like a chimney sweep in Mary Poppins.
Ah, yes. Homelander's pube and Nazi shrine. My favorite part of this show. Oh my god, disgusting.
Is that Carl Urban? I loved him in Lord of the Rings.
No, not America.
I'm your father.
Hey, wait, I've heard that before too. I thought we stopped watching Star Wars.
So, do you like how Starlight just doesn't have powers anymore?
Yeah, I guess not.
She needs compound Viagra to perform again.
He doesn't stand for Vought. Wasn't there like an Arnold Schwarzenegger thing where he was a twin, but it was a twin with like
really?
Yeah, but he was a twin with who's the little guy that played the penguin? Danny DeVito. That's right. He was like they were twins, I think.
Really?
Yeah, I'm serious. This was a movie.
I don't believe you.
That was the joke, that they were very different sizes.
Hey, magic.
The Gathering.
Goodbye, Huey.
I'm going back to better written properties. Like maybe a Dread sequel or a Netflix show.
Victoria here is a superhero.
Oh my god, he did it.
Oh, snap.
It's actually a good moment.
Wow.
What happened to his gay lover, storyline, they just went away.
It was a side quest. That's what I'm telling you, man. Like 95% of this season is just like extra filler, you know? I have a time for a game of Connect 4, though. By the way, I'm dying. Sorry, kid. Connect 4 still on the table. Oh, we're going there. Chekhov's Connect 4, I think is what they call it. Yeah.
Octopus flashbacks. Oh god. Now we're just openly drinking human breast milk.
Oh, there you go. I didn't see. I looked
switching
away.
it around. I have nothing better to do than to work on my putt at this critical time.
They're like fleeing the White House. He's like, hold on, I need to get my putting set. Owie. Yeah, that's I'm not into chiropractic either. And she's down at the 5-yard line.
Now. Perfectly symmetrical violence never solved anything. It's just every show.
Well, it is like crazy that we have 2 season finales in a row with the actors fighting themselves.
Can't wait for House of the Dragon finale next week.
No, that show already had twins fighting each other, remember?
That's true. What the fuck, man?
I bet Kimiko's first words is going to be something totally ironic, like, I could go for a waffle right now. Look at that chandelier, it's so low.
No, it doesn't understand interior design.
No table is big enough. My feng shui is weak, I admit it. Wow.
She's
Suffer,
psycho.
Hughie, suffer.
She's crazy. You need to dump her right now, dude. This is like red flag city.
You're a writer. You don't get paid shit.
Please, I'll do anything.
Oh, they're killing their own writers? This show is really, wow. I mean, that's very self-aware, I guess. But
Oh my god, what is this?
sorry, I'm gay. Wow. So
I'm not gay anymore. Thank you.
that whole, I mean, you know, it can.
Did you know you were a rape baby? Kids love hearing that.
Oh no.
Surely a teenage boy will be completely reasonable after hearing all of these things. Not angry at all.
Guess you gotta sleep it off, hey, you old bird. We have to spray Hughie with blood at least once per episode too. That's also a requirement.
You're all fucking welcome.
That's
His
our
little smirk
butcher.
is so good.
It's gonna be season 5, The Boys European Vacation. Lady Gaga? A vampire from Twilight?
Dick Guy's back. I miss Dick Guy.
Oh my goodness, she talked for the first time.
He's actually not Magneto. He can only throw boats, Noah.
Oh, that's true. His name is Boat Thrower. Hi, Dad. Is that's the line? Oh, yep.
All right, well, there you go. Again, the full watch along is available just like we did last week. As you can tell, Doe and I maybe didn't enjoy The Boys season 4 very much.
Well, I will say the last episode redeemed itself slightly. There was some interesting things, but I think the conclusion we came to jump ahead, the conclusion we came to for this entire season was that basically it could have been condensed into like 3 okay episodes. Instead, it was 8 very meh to bad episodes.
Oh,
right?
I'll disagree with that, Doa. I think this season didn't even need to exist. I think it was entirely filler.
We said that last time.
As we
said
discussed
that last time.
Yeah, but now we've got the whole season to talk about. As we said in the last episode, they basically just memory hold everything that happened in season 3, the entire Soldier Boy storyline, only, of course, to resurrect it at the end of season 4. So we could have just skipped all of that and just had the continuation of the Soldier Boy storyline, which was actually interesting. But instead,
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, this show is just lousy with plot armor, artificial tension, nothing actually happening, fake drama, as we like to discuss. So we're going to mix things up with the segments this time, guys. A lot of you said, hey, we're not watching this trash, but we are entertained by the show. So some level of context would be appreciated so you can follow along. So we are going to go through this chronologically, and you can follow along with us. So basically, let's start with episode 4, because this entire episode is Homelander going back to his experimentation, his human experimentation lab, where he was not really held, because you can't really hold Homelander, and they
psychologically held.
He was psychologically imprisoned. And of course, all the same people are still working there who did the horrible experiments on them. And Doa, in a complete lack of surprise, what happens to all the people who are experimenting on Homelander?
Oh, I mean, they're all, given an early retirement, by death. They're all killed. He kills them brutally in many different ways, and the entire episode, you're just like, all right, we know what we're here for. We know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Do we really have to sit through all of it? Like, I feel like we already know enough about Homelander that, like, by the end of that episode, we learned just, like, more bad things that happened to Homelander as a child, but we didn't really learn more about Homelander. There was not any character growth in an episode that was supposed to specifically be about character growth.
It was just vengeance and nothing else.
Yeah, it was just vengeance porn, I guess if you're into that, if you're into the gore effects, if you're into the they deserved it, kind of like gore, like this is a great episode for you, I guess. But for people that like plot and character development, it was spinning its wheels, which is kind of a microcosm of this entire season, right? The show is very much spinning its wheels. Like we said in the last episode, very much becoming the thing it hated before. It is becoming the MCU in every form and function. So yeah, that's basically about it. There's some Frenchie stuff in there too, which leads right, I think, into our first segment very nicely. What do you think?
Yeah, so let's talk about some of the let's draw this out, though. Let's talk about some of the fake drama storylines that are the seeds are planted in this episode, and we can follow each of those individual threads to its extremely unsatisfying conclusion. So the Homelander revenge against the people who experimented with him in his childhood is entirely contained within this episode and doesn't go anywhere. So we don't really have to complain about that. It's just kind of bad and boring and pointless on its face. We don't learn anything about Homelander. We already know that he's a vengeful, petty, vain piece of shit, and we don't need to see more of that. We understand why he is dangerous, right? We understand that
we need to be given like an interesting story reason why, rather than just again vengeance porn.
Yeah, it really is just reiterating the fact that, oh man, Homelander is crazy and dangerous and sadistic, and we already knew that, so it just feels like more of the same.
I realized why we had to have that episode, or why whenever I say we in the show, I'm really not saying you and I'm saying like the writers. I understand why we as the writers had to have this is because Homelander has become so impotent in the rest of the show in that there's zero drama when he shows up because the characters have insane plot armor that they had to have a way for him to go brutally kill people so we would be reminded that he has the ability to brutally kill people. That's actually the reason why this exists. It's because he can't do anything in the rest of the series, so they had to
it's
let him
not
off
like
the
Game
leash
of Thrones where they surprise kill a character that you might care about. They have to introduce these characters and then immediately kill them so you don't have any connection, or he just kills extras like he did with the Vought on Ice thing earlier in this season.
Yeah.
It's like he will just kill randomly introduced characters. Will he kill Hughie? No, because Hughie has adamantine plot armor, which we'll get to. But let's start with some fake drama, because there is crazy fake drama. And when we talk about fake drama, guys, what we mean is that it sets up these very artificially dramatic situations, and then either the characters behave in an irrational or completely stupid fashion that means that they can't address the issues of drama, or the writers introduce this dramatic plot line only to just undo it at the last possible second. And it's basically this entire season, guys, if we're being honest. So let's talk about some of the instances of fake drama, starting with Frenchie's entire character arc for this season, DoA, because Frenchie has been set up as this kind of drug-addled chemist relationship with Kimiko, and then randomly he enters into this relationship with a man starting in this season, and then where does it go? Why is this fake drama?
Right, so first of all, when I saw the first episode and he was with this guy, I was like, did I miss something in a previous season? Did I forget something that happened? Because I don't think I'm wrong in that this other character was not in any of the other stuff in the show, right? I'm not forgetting something.
I don't recognize him, no.
I didn't either it was so forgettable that I forgot it, or it was just completely introduced out of the blue. But yeah, it's very strange. It totally derails his relationship with Kimiko in terms of forwarding that story, right? Where he's so damaged, she's so damaged, they need each other, and yet they're so unwilling to allow themselves to be close to anybody. And then he suddenly is with this random character. Oh, coincidentally, who we also killed his family, apparently. But so of course this can only go one direction. It's not going to end well. We know this from the beginning, so there's no tension, right? Because you already know how it's going to end. But then it gets even more ridiculous, where in this episode, I believe is the episode 4, where his lover tells him about how he was under the bed when his family was getting killed, and the one thing he remembers more than anything else is the huge crazy scars on the ankles of the guy who did it, right? And Frenchie's like, oh no, I have those scars because I'm the guy who did it. And I'm thinking, like the rest of the audience, if you're intimate with this individual for months already and you never notice their giant ankle scars, correct me if I'm wrong, but you kind of get to see everything, right, in that situation. Otherwise, you get the weird stuff where it's like, hey, why do you always wear really long socks when we're intimate? That's kind of, I mean, maybe it's a thing. I don't know, but after a certain amount of time, you got to ask, right? So either Frenchie was wearing long socks every time they were, together in a romantic way, or this guy is just completely oblivious and totally missed these because they're not subtle. It's not like it's this little mark that you would miss easily. They're like giant scars on his ankles, right? So there's no excuse for missing that. It just completely, in my opinion, blows the entire fragile storyline that was there apart. So,
but it gets stupider, though. It gets more fake drama. So he tells Colin about this. Colin then beats him up. Frenchie then feels guilt over the next few episodes, literally goes and turns himself into the police saying, I have committed murders. By the way, there's no trial. I hate to tell you guys.
Right.
The way that the justice system works isn't you go confess at a police station and then they put you in prison forever. That's not how this works. But it does work in his case because he just instantly goes to prison without any sort of investigation, any sort of trial, right? And then Kimiko tries to visit him. He says no visitors, so he refuses to visit her. And of course, at a very convenient point in the plot when they're trying to engineer a virus to kill the soups, right? He is then magically released from prison by the CIA in a crazy deus ex machina. He comes back in order to help synthesize this virus and then immediately resumes his relationship with Kimiko. They actually end up kissing, and then she speaks at the end. So, but what my point, though, is why this is fake drama is none of the stuff with the relationship or him being in jail had to happen. We could have just literally cut that entire arc out of this show and it would have affected nothing in the end.
It also is a glaring case of very selected use of media in this world. In a show that's all about coverage and media and news stuff, you would think this would be like a top story across every network, right? Mob hitman turns himself in, but he had a salacious relationship with the child of one of his family's victims. Like, you telling me like a news channel wouldn't just eat that up, right? And like, so obviously, like, yeah, they're just like, oh, you killed people, all right, to jail with you. And like, so they completely dispense with a realistic.
And then they just deus ex machina summon him out of jail. It's like, oh,
exactly.
And by the way, though, I'm just gonna put this out there.
Go for it.
If you were trying to if the CIA, was in on this, and you were like, hey, CIA, we need to create this soup-killing virus. Don't you think the CIA could marshal better resources than some strung-out French guy who's in prison? Like, what about actual virologists? What about this lab? They're like, nah, just get him out of prison. He's the one who's going to help us with this. I mean,
well, we're getting away from the fake drama a little bit, but that in itself is insane too, because we know he's very good at making drugs and like tinkering with things, but suddenly he's able to engineer viruses too. That's like, those are two skill sets that I don't think are as close as the writers think they are. I don't remember Walter White like making meth and then also like making viruses on the side.
If he had been the equivalent of Jesse in this Breaking Bad analogy to the virologist, that would be fine. But the virologist ends up escaping and then he has to do it by himself. So it's like, could Jesse have made the meth alone? No. Jesse was the helper. Like, he was there to help out with some of the equipment and stuff. Anyway, so another instance of fake drama that starts in this episode is the entire arc with Hughie's dad. So Hughie's dad is dying.
Rip Simon Pegg. Yeah.
Simon Pegg is dying. It'll be tragic when that happens in real life. So Simon Pegg, who plays Hughie's dad, is dying in the hospital, and Hughie's mom returns, who has abandoned him for some high quality fake drama here, because we haven't really heard about this character from the rest of the show. Now she appears to have some very not moving scenes with Hughie about why she left in the first place, but we don't care because we don't know or care about this character. And then he decides, no, my dad can't die. I'm going to put some temp V in him and heal him up. And then he runs through a hospital, accidentally killing people as he teleports inside their body and then rematerializes. There are no consequences for this, DoA, because it's fake drama, and he dies in the end anyway. So
no cameras saw any of this, by the way. They get away scot-free, of course, because Hughie's got plot armor when it comes to murdering innocent people too.
Everything. Yeah. Hughie has the most thick plot armor I have ever seen in my entire life. It is crazy. But what's so funny about this, though, is there's no consequences, right? There's no consequences for him like getting A-Train to steal the Temp V to like save his dad. There's no consequences for his dad running around and murdering innocent people in not murdering, it's manslaughtering innocent people in a hospital. And also, there's no effect of this because at the end of the day, Hughie's dad dies. And if Hughie's dad had just died earlier, we could have had the same emotional resonance with Hughie as a character. We literally had to have none of this drama.
What I don't get is why the whole consequence of this is that we now have no sympathy for Hughie because
he's
he
a
seems
douche.
to be remorseless over the selfish act of giving his dad drugs. His dad goes deranged, kills people. There's no consequences for that. And he doesn't seem to be remorseful at all. He never mentions the victims. He never mentions feeling bad about it. And he's just his happy-go-lucky self aside from when he's being abused, which is like every episode. So it's like, that's weird too. It's like we're supposed to lose sympathy for him, which I guess kind of works out because they do terrible things to him for the rest of the season. So it's like, but did we need any of this? Like, couldn't Hughie just keep being Hughie? You know, why does he... It's like they knew they were going to make him the series punching bag, but needed a reason why we're to make us okay with that. I guess we'll get to all that stuff later, but it's just very bizarre. Like, because yeah, we didn't need any of that. We could have had actually more of a strong like actual sympathy for a character in the show, which is rare because they're also like unsympathetic. So it's they missed an opportunity there.
The one thing, Doa, that could have come out of this and like justified the plot arc is if A-Train was somehow caught for taking the temp B. But they don't do that, and A-Train remains being the mole for basically the rest of the show, even though apparently Sage knows that. And it is entirely pointless. So this is entirely fake drama. We could have had the Hughie's dad dies arc, and it could have just ended instead of having this incredibly stupid middle segment that doesn't add anything to the actual plot or narrative of the rest of the show.
Why not have some like real human moments in your show with a bunch of superheroes and stuff like that? That you could have had that, right? You could have had a reminder that while we're on these zany capers and all this stuff is happening, like the world is still turning. There's still real regular person drama that happens every day. So it would have been interesting to explore the effect of normal tragedy to a member of the boys versus all of this insano superhero gore tragedy, right? So again, they had an opportunity there, but they decided to just, you know, go jump the shark with it, as it were, where put our characters in situations that are so unbelievable that it kind of undermines the universe that they're operating in.
All right,
which is hard to do in a superhero show, but they did it.
Moving away from the fake drama for just a moment, let's talk about the next episode, because this is where episode 5, the virus is introduced. Okay.
Sure.
And we get to go see that the Butcher finds out about this virus. So they go to this farm where, again, Stan Edgar, the former CEO of Vought, is just deus ex machina out of prison, right? And he finds out that they are creating this virus at a farm that he owns and testing it on animals, right? So they all go there to try and get this virus. Neuman, who is like Stan Edgar's adopted daughter, who is going to be the vice presidential nominee, is there as well. And of course, because this show is wacky and zany, Doa, they get attacked by farm animals who are who are super farm animals, including flying vicious sheep, which is ridiculous and gets us into our next iteration of fake drama.
Yes, because you can't have drama around superpowered farm animals when there's just a bunch of superheroes around. Like, why are they afraid of these farm
Can't
animals?
Neuman explode their heads? Like,
yes,
can't she do that?
She absolutely could have, but she did not, you know, for some strange reason. You know, we to break for a moment from that, you know, we're not going to do a Kenneth crossover this time, but we probably could have, because we have both Moff Gideon and Dr. Pershing from The Mandalorian, also in a similar work relationship, really, in this series, interesting enough. And the guy who plays Samir, I'm blanking on his name right now, but also plays Dr. Pershing in The Mandalorian. Also, the guy who wanted to experiment on Grogu, you remember now? You know,
No, I didn't
underling
watch it.
of Werner Herzog, but also ultimately Moff Gideon, played by oh my gosh, the guy who's also from Breaking Bad, and I just can't remember names tonight. I don't know. It's like almost 10 p.m. and I just have forgotten every actor's name. You know what I'm talking about, though. Esposito, Giancarlo Esposito. Is that it? Did I get it right?
I don't know. I haven't seen that show, so
Monty hasn't seen The Mandalorian. It's kind of sad, actually.
No, I'm pretty
Very
happy about my choices.
The first 2 seasons are good.
I'm pretty happy about my choices.
Anyway, they should have exploded the sheep. There's no excuse for this. There's insane stuff like these are superpowered sheep that are just bursting through people, but yet at the same time they are blocked by wooden doors. I don't know. But
the chicken goes through that guy, and it's so funny, Doa.
Haha, I bet you never expected a chicken to go through a guy. Ooh, aren't we edgy and zany? Oh.
Well, you could have warned us your pal Samir was Ving up a Kentucky Fried fucking massacre, couldn't you?
So yes, this whole episode is fake drama about these farm animals, and then of course they kidnap Samir Shah. Butcher kidnaps Samir Shah and forces him to make the virus that will he hopes will destroy Homelander, right? So this episode is actually entirely just a throwaway. This could have been resolved in 5 minutes.
It's definitely the worst episode of the season, which is saying a lot because it's not a very good season. But this one was the worst. The main crux of this episode is that they end up capturing the scientist. Butcher cuts his leg off to get him to try to work with them, which is another thing where it's like, well, if you were still rooting for Butcher somehow, you really probably shouldn't be, because this guy was just, he doesn't seem like the biggest, super villain. This Samir, the virologist, but yeah, so that happens too. Honestly, that qualifies for fake drama as well, because all the stuff with him making the virus and all that, and they're torturing him and all that, he just ends up like
he just leaves,
getting away. He just ends up getting away anyway, right? And so Frenchie has to finish the virus. So you really didn't need him the entire time.
You could have had Frenchie make the virus the entire time. The only thing it did was set up his relationship with Neuman. Right? But ultimately and we'll get to this, the entire Neuman arc from the beginning was fake drama. That actually extends into previous seasons and also Gen V, which is pretty wild that they made such a giant fake drama arc, which is sad because, like, as I said in our last episode on The Boys, the Neuman arc was one of, if not my very favorite part of this show. Mm-hmm. And we see that in the next episode, right? Because the next episode is where Tek-Knight, who is the Batman with actual like super sensory powers, he's the Batman equivalent in this universe, right? The detective, he's having a party at his mansion, which has been funded by his generations of, owning prisons and apparently being slave catchers. And he has this very like stupid conversation with A-Train that I guess is supposed to be edgy, but is just like super cringe about how like he's like, my ancestor would have caught you, A-Train. I'm like, he's a super powered man who could run faster than you could catch him. Like, that doesn't even make sense. Like, I guess I understand you're trying to be like, I can't believe I'm going to use this term, playfully racist, but that's the only way I can describe that conversation is playfully racist. I don't like it.
when racism enters like a cocktail party small talk, I think
exactly.
The only way you can describe it is playfully racist. Yes,
it's so bad.
I bet A-Train here would have given my great-great-granddaddy a run for his money.
Oh.
Huh? But we would have caught you.
Oh.
I guess we'll never know.
It's another thing where the show is basically going to you, the viewer, and be like, "Hey, do you not like this guy yet?
Is this making you uncomfortable?
Not like it? Like, is this so wild and crazy? Have you never seen this before in a show? Ooh, here's another thing." But yeah, so the purpose of the playful racism is just to again get us to dislike this character even more, which we didn't really need any help there.
We don't, and especially with what happens next, right? And like the thing about A-Train too is that there actually is already a funny instance of racism in this show that's actually well done, which is that whole like training A-Train movie with Will Ferrell that is like fucking hilarious, actually.
Right, which brings their social point across much better,
exactly,
much more comedic way. And like Will Ferrell's kind of funny in every single thing he's in, so it was I did enjoy seeing him pop up for that.
A story about a hero.
I'm not giving up on you, but you can't give up on yourself.
And the boy he taught to run.
Run faster than that! I quit! Don't you bail on me! Get off of me!
Because we get like, I felt like for a while there was like 3 or 4 movies just like that coming out every year, right? And so seeing them kind of lampoon that it felt like a little bit of a taste of the old boys, the old
The season 1 and 2 when it was actually good. Yes.
So there you go. So there's that. So I agree. And so having that, like, it wasn't really funny. It didn't really change how we thought of either character, because A-Train's already been the victim of this kind of thing multiple times in the series. This character that's saying it is already established as a scumbag. So it's just kind of, it is more of that, like, it's the shock value, right? Where it's like, we're going to put this in there just to make you go, oh my. And it's the whole peep show thing I talked about last time, right? Where it's like, when every single scene is that, it loses its punch, right? And it just becomes sophomoric and edgelord,
right? And like, it's just, they always add additional bullshit on top, which just makes makes you roll your eyes. Like, no one's gonna like this guy because of what happens later in this episode, but also no one's gonna like this guy because he made a fortune from his family's ownership of private prisons. Like, everybody's already like, ew, gross. And then they're like, but did you know his family before the private prisons was also slave catchers, and now he's gonna joke about catching slave trade or A-Train and returning him to slavery. I'm like, no, just, we don't need that part. That part is unnecessary.
Yeah. So it's like, sure, I get that why they put it in there, but it is, again, more like shock value for shock value's sake, whether it's gore related or nudity related or verbiage related, whatever category it fits into. But it does lead us into perhaps an important segment to cover, which is the straight up plot armor segment. That's right. Nobody in the entire universe in the history of cinema has had more plot armor than Hughie has, right? Whether it's armor like we talked about against law enforcement, against security cameras in hospitals that apparently don't exist when his dad is running amok, destroying people, plot armor when it comes to Homelander being around, it's like he has plot armor, right? And they abuse him a lot, but he's never actually going to die. And I feel like plot armor, in its purest description, is that this character will not die. It's not saying nothing bad will happen to this character. It's just that this character will not be removed from the series. They're always going to get out of every situation they're in. And so it does make the entire thing that happens at Tek-Knight, where Hughie is masquerading as a web weaver, right? Which, of course, he shoots webs out of his butt, ha ha ha, and it makes farting sounds, ha ha ha. Oh my gosh, oh my, it's so dirty. Ooh. Of course there's that, right? And so Hughie is dressed up as him. He's wearing the full mask, and then he's taken down to Tek-Knight's sex dungeon and sexually assaulted for a period of time.
Most
and you're like, all right, well, yeah, most of that episode. And you're like, all right, well, I guess we're just doing this to Hughie now, but it's because it's being done to Hughie. It's fun. It's funny, right? It's hilarious. But, again, is this like, are we supposed to feel like this is retribution for his dad murdering, manslaughtering innocent people? Or is this just, bad writing? And I would assume the latter.
But it's also to their point, DoA, like, Hughie can be in the same room as Homelander a million times. Homelander knows who he and Butcher are, and yet he can never remember. Homelander literally tried to kill Hughie earlier this season when he was crawling in the vents, and he knows it's Hughie because he can smell him and he knows who Hughie is. And then he just fails for no particular reason and kills a bunch of like random ice skating extras. And then now again, he's like, oh shit, I'm in the same room as Homelander one more time. But Homelander, by the way, isn't going to hear any of the shit that happens in this house, despite having super hearing, including including people just gunshots. I mean, I'm just gunshots in the house with Homelander in it. That happens in this episode, or anything that's happening in Tek-Knight's weird sex dungeon. And Ashley's also there, of course, randomly, because now she has to be this depraved sex character.
That's her thing this season. Yep.
I mean, the whole thing is just completely ridiculous, and also just it's not fun to watch. I didn't have fun watching the sex dungeon scene at all. It wasn't funny. Like, this show is basically just crude slapstick now, and it's not funny.
I'm telling you, it is. I think the peep show analogy just is the best way to describe the show, where it's like, peek through the hole and see something shocking. and there's no substance to it really. It's just there to make you giggle, you know, maybe or be shocked, right? There's no substance to it. But it is crazy just how impotent Homelander is now. Like again, like the going back to the ice skating thing, he could have taken that whole building down. And at this point in the series, he absolutely has a reason to level a building to kill Hughie. On top of that, this season it has been established that Homelander can basically just do whatever he wants in public and it's fine. He killed a guy in the last episode of season 3 and everyone's cool with it, right? So you really don't have any reason anymore for the bad soups to kill the boys, you know? And yet they just have conversations and be like, "I'll get you next time." You know, it's just, yeah, there's no drama because again, the plot armor is so thick around Hughie and to an extent around every single one of the boys, that you know we just don't have any tension. And the thing is they deal with this plot armor in the worst ways because they just make certain characters punching bags instead. So we just have like scenes of intense suffering or harm come to these characters that we're supposed to like every episode as a way to be like, oh, we're gonna do serious things to these characters. There's no plot armor, right? Kimiko, like, oh, she got blown in half. Oh, her head got turned around backwards. Like, oh, they had to saw her leg off. Like, oh, Huey's gonna get like sexually assaulted multiple times in subsequent episodes. Oh, you know, his you know, so it's like we're just going to be shown this parade of suffering inflicted on our main characters because of, again, as an extension of the fact that they have such insane plot armor that we know they're not going to die, they're going to be in the next episode, but yet we feel the need to just abuse them partially because of that. So one bad decision leads to another in terms of how the writing on this show sort of progresses this season. And the plot armor creates a lot of this stuff where, yeah, we just have to watch our main characters suffer for basically no reason. And it's not funny. It's not enjoyable. And that's just the show now, I guess. But yeah, that's...
And now this episode also is very important to another instance of fake drama, which is now the entirety of Neuman's character, which is really sad because, okay, I liked Neuman's character arc.
I guess.
But, well, it was really interesting because they introduced this like undercover superhero, like closeted superhero who is in the government, doesn't want to be outed, right? Because she's afraid of what people might think. Sure. Obviously, and especially because her power is very insidious and very lethal, where she could just blow up people's heads and kill them instantly. She's seen using this power against politicians to like clear the way for her rivals, and she's part of a scheme, you know, that is about ending the United States government, that it happens at this cocktail party very specifically, as it's like, oh, look at the old rich white dudes. They are scheming about taking over the United States government and they only love money and ha ha ha, cheers to billionaires. I mean, it's just, it's not satire. It's just bad. It's just bad writing. And she's suffering through this. She's like, these people are horrible, but I'm going to sit here and smile because I want to have a government coup as well. Ha ha.
Corporations are the real superpowers here. You should be able to operate without any regulation or restriction whatsoever. After all, you're billionaires. You are smart enough to know what's best.
So you get that. And also, we know that Homelander knows her secret about her being a superhero. We know that Hughie knows, right? Homelander has said multiple times that he wants to actually out her, which he ends up doing in a good scene, I actually think, when he's on the talk show with him and Firecracker, when he outs her on public television and proves that she's a supe by like lasering her, and because she's a superhero, she doesn't actually get hurt by his eye lasers. So I think it's like that scene in and of itself is very impactful. And you're like, ooh, I wonder what's going to happen with Neuman now, because they're planning on like getting rid of the president through an assassination plot with this like shape-shifting soup. And then the result of that is that Neuman becomes president and basically takes over the government, and they organize a coup, and then they rally all the Vought superheroes to like be the army for the coup, and they're going to take over the US, and she's going to be president for life, and like it's going to become a dictatorship, right? And okay, so I'm interested in this plot line, right? It does seem actually one of the things that could be feasible in this world, right? Especially if, you know, the superheroes are feeling, you know, it's the whole X-Men thing, right? This is like the Magneto storyline of this, where he wants to take over and he thinks that people are dangerous to superheroes, which they are, right? They're afraid, or, you know, they want to kill them. And You know, indeed, they are engineering this virus that could kill every soup on the planet and commit genocide. That's a core part of this. But then, though, why it's fake drama is that this all happens, and then Butcher takes more Temp V and just comes with his cancer tentacles and rips her in half, and then it's just over. I'm like, what? We dealt with multiple seasons of building up this story arc, and you just rip Neuman in half, and like the entire plot line is over, and she's dead.
Yep.
Meaning, by the way, the Neuman arc never had to happen, because if the intention is Homelander is called by the Secretary of State, or by the leader of the House, right? The Speaker of the House, who is the next in line for the presidency and sworn allegiance to, which is what happens. We could have just skipped that by having a random VP and the president killed or framed at the same time, and we didn't have to have this Neuman arc at all, which does nothing and goes nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of set her daughter up to be like a character that comes back, I guess, you know, because she escapes. But yeah, Butcher just kind of shows up and kills her, and that's it. Then he grins at the camera and walks away. That's it. He breaks the fourth wall, looks right into your souls, and gives you a little grin. You're like,
Oh, by the way,
You're all fucking welcome.
And it's my least favorite thing in writing DoA, which is the fake drama into a Deus Ex Machina, because it's like we had the fake drama that didn't matter, and the double whammy, it just ends in a Deus Ex Machina where Butcher's like, well, I decided I like genocide because my inner Aaron Rodgers told me that's what to do.
Oh yeah, you keep saying that Lenny's his name, right? You keep saying that the guy Butcher sees in his hallucinations looks like Aaron Rodgers.
He does.
Aaron Rodgers, for those of you who don't know, was the longtime quarterback for the Green Bay Packers, led them to a Super Bowl, great quarterback, interesting human being, interesting guy. Ended up going to the Jets, got hurt immediately in his first game, and now he's gonna be back. But I kind of see it. But I've just watched too many Packers football games, being a Green Bay Packers fan, to really be like, this guy looks exactly like it. He looks like Aaron Rodgers if you didn't see Aaron Rodgers very often, which is what I would expect from you as a Denver Broncos fan. So yeah, it's so he looks past. It's like if you like just see him walk by, you're like, oh, was that Aaron? No, it wasn't Aaron Rodgers. You know, it's like that level. But
tell DoA he's wrong in the comments. He looks a lot like Aaron Rodgers.
I don't think so. I don't know that actor's name, but I don't think he looks that much like Aaron Rodgers. Maybe like an older Aaron Rodgers that let himself go a bit. Who knows?
Aaron Rodgers in 5 years. Maybe Aaron Rodgers this year. We'll see.
When he gets into his jeans advertising era of his post-football life, you know? He's in the era of I'm going to play for the Jets for like one more year and then go to the Vikings, but that's a whole different podcast. Yeah. But Deus Ex Machina, you say?
I do.
That's where we'll insert the slide. There you go. So please continue. Tell us about your dislike of
but it's like the Deus Ex Machinas in the show are ridiculous. Like, so one of them is just like Sage's plan. You know, Sage is so smart, and at the end, it's just a Deus Ex Machina. It's like, I knew that Neuman was going to die the whole time, and it was part of my plan. What was my plan? Oh, the season's over. I can't tell you what my plan was. Haha, Homelander, I couldn't tell you. You're so stupid.
We got here. Just had to keep a few bits to myself. You know, the bits you'd fuck up by, you know, being you. Neuman would have been a shit patsy, stubborn, too many ideas, so I went another way.
And it's like everything Sage does is it's just like a vague plan. And she's like,
you see, I knew this would happen. Her superpower is actually convincing other people that she's brilliant, because she shows up. Her superpower is actually to show up at the exact right moment after something happens and be like, haha, I knew that would happen.
and not explain why what
knew. And she's like, yep. See you next time.
And then she never explains why it's good that this thing happened or what the plan was. So it's just like, oh, I guess it's all going according to Keikaku. And then her last scene in terms of Deus Ex Machina is like Pinky in the Brain level. So what do we do tonight, Sage? Try to take over the world after the coup succeeds or whatever. It's
yeah.
Actually...
After she was kicked out, like, there's no way she could have known all of that would happen the way that it did happen. Because to be clear, there's no indication that I can remember that she knows what the affliction Butcher has is, right?
Right.
She doesn't know that Newman has made this deal with the boys, safety in exchange for basically giving public dirt on everything. There's a lot of things that we're just supposed to assume she knows and knew would happen. And so, sure, if you don't think about it at all, she seems like a genius. But if you actually think about it, you're like, wait, it's very unlikely that she knew most of that stuff. So I think it's more likely that it's like I said, where she's just playing on the fact that Homelander is not actually that smart. And she's just like, I'm going to do this so I can get out of this situation. See ya. And so she's out. Yeah.
I mean, but she basically is just used as that Deus Ex Machina to come in. I mean, the worst one is obviously just like, because the Temp V is like the Force. It's like the ultimate Deus Ex Machina. It's like, is there a problem you can't solve? Here's Temp V. That's what happened at the end of the last season. And then they're like, oh, the Temp V made him sick. But what about more Temp V, where now his cancer is super tentacles? Ooh. We'll solve this Newman problem that we've been having. I guess, like, did it solve anything? I feel like the show is more interesting with the Newman plotline in it, because Newman is actually an interesting character, because she's a conflicted character, right? She's actually trying to get out. Like, what would you have rather seen? Like, just answer the question. What would you have rather seen? A conflicted Newman who's being hunted by Homelander, and actual real tension and drama as she tries to abandon the plan. Can the boys protect her? That's actually interesting. Or she asks for protection and then Butcher just rocks up and rips her apart, and now that storyline's just gone.
I mean, clearly I thought the former would be a better choice there, but like it is disappointing too, because like that's supposed to be our big season ending shocker, I guess, that she dies and that Butcher kills her, where it's like, well, yeah, but I didn't really want that. Like you're saying, I kind of wanted that plot to continue, you know?
Yes.
But I guess they felt the need to remove her from the series, so she's out. But I don't think you can save this series. I don't think there's anything they can do in season 5 that brings it back around, you know? I think you've taken Homelander, who was really a very threatening villain initially, where I think there's very little that is as threatening as someone who publicly has a very good persona and is well loved and all that, but is secretly very evil and always just on the edge of having it seep through into public life, you know? But so that the early Homelander, right, where there was like genuine threat when he was nearby because he's got the super hearing and he wants to kill you, and if he can corner you in a place where he can kill you and get away with it, he will, you know, to where now he's just straight up the villain, not hiding, right, or anything like that. It's boring, right? Now he's just a super villain, and that kind of takes all the entertainment out of that character, I think, right? And you can't put that back in the box, right? You can't have him go back to the way he was, because too much has happened publicly, you know, in that universe. So without that, now it just becomes a Marvel show, right? Now it just becomes the plucky superheroes versus the megalomaniac supervillains. Now it has just become the same tired old superhero story that we've seen in every superhero comic book since like the dawn of superheroes, right? So I don't see how you write yourself out of that one.
So DoA, how does it end? Our segment. How does we know the next season is the last season, mercifully for the boys? How does it end?
Yeah. Well, how does it end? I mean, it's got to end with a Homelander family throwdown, right? Where it's like his son and his dad and Homelander all fighting each other or something. Because we also had another nuanced character get unnuanced in the final episode, right? Where Ryan felt, you know, had a conscience, right? He even like stopped that live television thing and countermanded what his dad, you know, wanted. He had this affection for Butcher, right? But that's all thrown out the window in the final episode, right? Butcher puts him in a situation where it seems like he's trapping him because he kind of is. Ryan kills someone, doesn't feel bad about it. It's kind of like, ooh, I kind of like this now, I guess. So, you know, now they basically just made a mini Homelander. So the nuance of that character is from what we've seen at the end of episode 8, is also done. So I feel like that's what we come down to, where the series ends with a Homelander family beatdown, where they find some way in Homelander's moment of weakness or something to take him out, right? He's weakened by the family beatdown, getting fought by his dad and his son at the same time. And in his weakness, the boys come in and finish him off somehow, whether it's a virus or what have you, you know? Throughout all of this, some of the boys will definitely die. I think Mother's Milk will probably live, because I think everybody wants to see him reunited with his family and all that. I think Kimiko will finally die, but Kimiko and Frenchie will die heroically together. And for Kimiko, it will seem like a relief after this life of abuse. She will finally be able to just be free, essentially. And Frenchie, will get death because he doesn't feel like he deserves life anyway. And so in some sort of semi-redeeming way at the end, those two will die together. Butcher, of course, is going to die in some like insane, violent, go out guns a-blazing way. Hughie and Starlight will probably make it out, but who knows? Maybe they'll just kill them too. But I have a feeling Hughie, Starlight, and Mother's Milk are going to survive. Everyone else will die. And like I said, the finale will be a Homelander family beatdown, and Homelander will be taken out in totality, in finality, by the boys in a moment of weakness. So there you go.
Well, Butcher will probably have to die to take out Homelander, right? That's the thing. And of course, the virus isn't going to work because the virus is also fake drama. The virus is 100% fake drama, guys. We went through this entire arc of the virus, and the virus is going to be meaningless.
It's not going to go anywhere,
I'm hopeful that Soldier Boy isn't fake drama because he actually is one of the cooler parts of the show, I think. And I liked them like breaking him. I liked them in season 3 breaking him out of the Russian prison and introducing him. But then they just froze him again. They put him in stasis again, which was, again, why did we have to have that at all? Couldn't we just have gone on with the Soldier Boy arc and like not had this season? I don't know. Like, feels like if we're going to bring him back, we didn't have to refreeze him, as it were, and also had the terrible ending to season 3. So I think the virus is fake drama 100%, and that it's not going to work, or, the gun is going to jam or something stupid like that. Butcher will have to kill himself to get rid of Homelander. He will do it in a touching way to show that he really still cares about Ryan, because he's going to have a change of heart, because Butcher's not going to commit soup genocide. We know that. He's not going to do that. He's going to be like, but I love you, Becca, and therefore I love Ryan, who's not even my son. Let me do this selfless sacrifice to save Ryan from Homelander.
I don't think that's going to happen. I think Ryan's just going to be bad. I think he's just going to be bad, and he's just going to be like an uncontrollable X Factor next season, where he's just doing things out there.
Oh, he'll be redeemed by the end. They can't kill the kid.
Oh, I don't know. I think they totally can in this series. They absolutely
I
can.
hope they do. That would be very interesting.
I think they can. But I will tell you, even I think Frenchie and Kimiko will die early on in the finale, right? Or maybe in the episode before the finale, right? To set up the tension. But yeah, I think that's how it's going to end. That is my official prediction for The Boys season 5, season that I don't want to watch, but will inevitably watch anyway for the purpose of the show, I suppose. So, hooray.
Yeah, no, that's how I feel about Star Wars. This is at least more entertaining than Star Wars is.
No. I get more.
I would 1,000% rather watch this show than The Acolyte.
I would watch The Acolyte again in a marathon session than watch this season of The Boys again.
I disagree. The Acolyte is way bigger dog shit.
The Acolyte I can laugh at. It's like goofy. It's it makes me laugh.
Hey, you can laugh at this. There are funny scenes in this. The Deep is still hilarious. The Deep is still funny.
So I know
Tilda Swinton is the voice of the octopus. It's pretty great. It's pretty great.
I didn't realize it right now. That's great. So maybe we can add one last segment on here. Is the say something nice?
Yeah. The Deep is still great. Tilda Swinton plays the octopus. It's very funny.
There is some good humor in this. And I will say my number one thing for the show is that it is extremely well acted.
Yep.
Every single actor in this show is great. And they're all awesome in their characters. The person who plays Ashley is fantastic as this sort of like person who's kind of like slowly being driven out of her mind more and more every season. Oh, which, by the way, another prediction. I predict, and I didn't really know on when we did our watch along, our recording, I couldn't figure out what her power would be. I know now. Her power is going to be animated hair. She's going to have a giant head of hair that she can control and tear people apart with. And all that.
Okay.
It is going to be animated hair. She's going to be Sindel from Mortal Kombat. Anyway, I digress. The actors are great in this show. Obviously, the guy who plays Homelander is awesome. Carl Urban's awesome in everything he's in.
Even Erin Moriarty, at least with the shapeshifter arc with shapeshifter Starlight, was pretty good. You know, she was pretty good.
By the way, isn't it strange? We were talking about this on the recording a little bit. Isn't it strange that we have now seen 3 shows in 1 month that have twins or doppelgangers fighting each other?
Yes.
Because
House of the Dragon.
House of the Dragon, yeah. And then, of course, like Acolyte, it was like the whole thing was they weren't really twins, but you get what I'm saying. And now here we have Starlight and her shapeshifter. Which, yeah, I thought she did a great job of portraying this like shape-shifting character that like when you can look like someone, but you also gain their memories. If you do it enough times, because you're also getting their deepest, darkest secrets, right? And so I love the idea. I like that character actually, because it's a great reason for a character to be crazy when they're burdened by all of these deepest, darkest secrets of everybody they've ever touched, right? So I like that aspect of that character, and she did a good job of portraying that character and herself and all that. So shout out to Erin Moriarty in the Freaky Friday fight scene, I guess. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, and obviously we've talked about Anthony Starr as Homelander. He's great.
Yeah.
Like the acting is, as you say, generally quite good. It's just ridiculous what they have these actors do. And it is saying something nice. Like that is a reason to keep watching the show. Is the acting is generally extremely good and it's extremely
honestly
compelling.
The only thing. It's the only thing that makes me want to come back. Like even the humor had dropped off so much this season that I can't even have as a qualifying thing. There was a little bit of it, but not enough. Where it is the acting that will bring me back, because I like seeing the actors in the roles that they're in this show. And it seems like they're having a lot of fun doing it too. And
I mean, I still think there could. I don't think it will be Noah because of the way the writers are reacting, but I think it's still possible to have a good ending season of this show. Like if we just ignore the mess that was this season and we pick up like where we were halfway through season 3, because honestly, I thought the first 2.5 seasons of the show were quite good. And it was only the end of season 3 and then this season that were really terrible. And very disappointing.
They do have the deep, brutally murder a writer at the end of this episode. I wonder if there's a meta commentary there. I don't know. Like I'm just a writer. No.
Yeah, because like at the end of the day, a lot of the characters are still good, and the world is still interesting. They've just chosen to do very uninteresting things with it, and that's the tragedy of the boys.
Yeah. It's much less interesting now, unfortunately. But we'll see. I guess we'll see what happens.
All right. Well, that'll do it for season 4 of The Boys. Probably not worth your time watching. How many Homelander capes out of 10 would you give this season to?
Oh man, this season, geez, I would give it maybe like a 2.5. 2.5.
I give it a 3.
Yeah, so we're around the same page.
Yeah.
But there's definitely moments I liked, but the majority of it. Which, again, I think you could take this season and make like a decent 2.5 hour film of it, where it's semi-engaging, and when I say decent, I mean mediocre. So yeah, 2.5 total. Yeah, seems about right. How about you? You said 3.
Yep, 3 for me.
Yeah.
I think I like it very slightly more than you do, but I still dislike it
more than I do. I've never been as big of a fan of this show as you have, so that makes sense. That tracks.
I'm not excited for the next season though.
Me
neither. I will have fond memories of season 1 and 2, and that'll be about it.
I'm more excited for Skeleton Crew, but anyway,
Skeleton Crew, more garbage Star Wars. DoA can't get enough of Disney shitting all over his childhood. He just eats that up with a spoon.
It doesn't bother me. My childhood memories are like perfectly preserved in the past, right? Nothing can touch your memories, you realize. Like seeing a bad Star Wars thing doesn't go back and change your childhood memories. So the idea that your childhood is ruined is stupid. That's idiotic. But I do so enjoy. I love the universe of Star Wars, and I've started to just embrace the train wrecks that keep coming out of that universe. So, I hope it changes eventually, but for now I'm there for the ride,
All right, so next week we're going to do another movie, and this is a classic movie, guys. It will be Terry Gilliam's Time Bandits. And you might say, well, why are you doing a 33-year-old movie by Terry Gilliam, especially Time Bandits? Well, not only is Time Bandits a fucking banger, if you haven't seen it, guys, it's actually a great movie, but Apple TV Plus has now started to do a series on Time Bandits. So I am very skeptical that it will be good, but we will watch it later. However, we are going to start with what we know is good, which is the movie, so that we're all caught up and ready to do Time Bandits. And we will come back to the Time Bandits TV series when it has actually aired in its entirety. So after that, we'll be finishing up House of the Dragon, so you guys can look forward to our final review of this season of House of the Dragon, much like when we came back to Acolyte and The Boys. What?
And finale watch along too for House of the Dragon.
Finale watch along, yes. And finale watch along to House of the Dragon. So those will be the next 2 weeks. But first up, while we wait for House of the Dragon to finish, we'll catch up on Time Bandits. Even if you have no plans of watching the Time Bandits TV show, I highly encourage you to watch Time Bandits the movie because it is fabulous. So you can check that at the very least. I know it's good. I can recommend it to you. We'll see how the Time Bandits TV series does. I am really skeptical that you could turn that into a good TV show. There you go. All right, guys, we'll see you next week.